Yes, Mr. Sen, you can, yeah,
Yeah.
we can start speaking.
So good afternoon, everybody, all the participants. On behalf of BioNEST, BHU, and Professor Tripathi, uh, I welcome you all because Professor Tripathi is currently traveling and he's not getting the signal where he is in now. So that's why, on his behalf, I'm giving you just introduction of BioNEST, BHU. BioNEST BHU, as you know already, that is Bioincubation Center, is the initiative of Innorestic Foundation BHU to foster entrepreneurship in the areas of life sciences, biotechnology, healthcare, agri-tech, food technology, and allied areas. And BHU provides an excellent ecosystem for interdisciplinary translational research and their validation. The aim of BHU BioNest is to promote the startups in these areas and the green ambience of the campus, multidisciplinary knowledge base, coupled with advanced instrumentation facility, along with experienced mentors in various fields, as we are having Institute of Science, Institute of Agricultural Science, Institute of Health Science, so IMS in the same campus. So that resource is uniqueness of BioNEST BHU. It is located, for your information, in the fourth floor of Central Discovery Center, CDC building in Benares Hindu University. And I think this is enough. All of you know about BioNEST BHU. With this short introduction about BioNEST BHU, I welcome you all in today's webinar session. Hope it will be beneficial for all of us, and in future we can work together. Over to you, Rishi.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sen, for giving introduction about BHU BioNest. So first of all, I would like to thank Professor Tripathi and Mr. Sen for being instrumental in organizing this webinar. And I also welcome you all for taking some time out of your busy schedules for this session. In this webinar, we are going to talk about Biotechnology Ignition Grant, which is also called BIG. Those who are not familiar with this, so this session will help you explore one of the most prestigious grant available for entrepreneurs in India, and those who already know about this and probably have applied for this before. In this webinar, we are going to share the key elements which can help you make a formidable pitch for your smooth BIG journey. And I will also will take you through all the BIG eligibility criteria, intellectual property and different aspects of BIG and other funding opportunities that are available with SIIC IIT Kanpur. And in the end, we'll also take queries that you might have for us. And most of the attendees have also mentioned in their registration form that they wish to apply for BIG. So yeah, so now I will like to introduce my colleague, Mr. Udyan Chandra. So Udyan has been working as a seasoned professional in the field of innovation translation for a decade in India and abroad. He has been leading SIIC IITK DST's collaborative ASEAN regional development via science diplomacy, effective evidence-based policy implementation for societal innovations, sustainable transition management of radical disruptive innovations and technology regulations. At SIIC IITK Kanpur, he serves in advisory roles towards technology assessment, forecasting and road mapping to support independent innovators and academic entrepreneurs to create successful knowledge translation driven enterprises. He's the portfolio manager of several mature medtech startups in the SIIC ecosystem. He has a deep engagement with startup founders to tackle concerns and challenges of deep technology driven enterprises on various fronts, ranging from technology development, validation, and certification, business plans for G2M, technology marketing, collateral development, connects to manufacturing scale up operations, regulatory advisory ISO 13485 and CE certification, market access for B2B customer connects, strategic investor connects, and raised funds from grant. As the project executive officer at SIIC IIT Kanpur, he has been working with teams from Tata Trust, Social Alpha, and CLRN, who through the IAN project funded by BMGF is geared towards piloting of agro-technologies to uplift the small and marginal farmers of UP. He extensively works with the bioincubator team to expand, diversify, and strengthen SIIC bioincubation portfolio in healthcare, medtech, focusing on medical devices and biopharma innovations. Prior to IIT Kanpur, being in charge of BioRec, Biotechnology Business Incubation Facility at IIT Delhi, he was involved in the complete operations management of the BioRec Bioincubator, consisting of taking lead in institutional licensing, outreach, strategic communication, public relations, networking activities, and opening dialogues with the academic staff to identify, categorize, and assets know-how at IIT Delhi suitable for technology commercialization via licensing and venture creation. In the UK, he worked at the cutting edge of fundamental research in biotechnology to develop the next generation of atomic force microscopy AFM system for biological application in collaboration with Bruker at Cambridge and Unilever Research, United Kingdom, to study the effect of nanomaterials in improving the efficacy of cosmeceutical products. He was first to observe the liquid ordered third phase of phospholipid system during his research work with the molecular and nanoscale bionanophysics group at the Atsbury Center for Structural Biology in University Leeds, UK, which was related to the biophysical chemistry study of phospholipid and skin lipid model system using force spectroscopy. Over to you, then. Yeah. Yeah, Udin, your mic is on mute.
Yeah. Thank you, Rishi, for the introduction, and thank you to all the participants who've taken out time from their busy schedules to join. I'll just share my screen. If Rishi, you could allow me to share my screen, I'll load the presentation up. Thank you. Rishi, would it be possible for you to take a poll also in this webinar? You're on mute.
Yeah, okay. Tell me what.
Would you be able to take a poll also in this webinar?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Okay. So
just let me know what is about, and then I'll just submit the poll. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I'm just trying to share my screen. Just a second. So the Biotechnology Ignition Grant Scheme, which we are going to be discussing today, we've had very successful applications from BHU in the past, which reached the final stage of this national call, which goes to show, like it was the case with Professor Debrata Dash, if I recollect correctly, with his research work on development of stents for AMI. There's a great deal of potential which is clearly there at BHU for translating innovation, and I hope that the community will take the lead of showing the way in the region for innovation translation. So ours at SIIC is an ecosystem which basically looks at converting products into technologies and services. And when I mean solutions, sometimes a solution can be more than just one thing. It can be a conglomeration of different technologies. The market actually is interested only in a solution. They're not interested in the IP or the technology per se. So it's extremely important at the outset to mention that we really need to have the kind of solutions that we build should be market relevant, industrially scalable, and at the same time be commercially sustainable as well. So at SIIC, the incubator that we have right now, I'll just stop my video so that my audio is clearer and just put this on. Yeah. So we've been replicating this through a range of startups which we've had. Now we're entering our 20th year. And as you can see, this whole business of technology, business incubation has led to 100 crore plus external cash flows to IIT Kanpur over the years. And this is only exponentially increasing. So it's of great benefit and value to the host institution for startups and innovators to really think about through establishing startups to commercialize and monetize their academic know-how, whether or whatever patents that are there. So at IIT Kanpur, and now we are going to be working with the BioNEST at BHU as well, to develop such an ecosystem which gives you the triple helix connect of fantastic world-class academic institution combined with bringing industry together and financial institutions and various actors in the funding and kind of capital space all together to support the entrepreneur which is at the center of the entire ecosystem. So this is what BIRAC and we at SIIC certainly try to do and provide. So there are basically 4 things that we provide at SIIC, and this is how we're going to be working with the BioNEST to take it forward. Regardless of which funding agency one looks at, there are grants available across the sector, whether it's DST, DBT, BIRAC, which is just one of them. There are a range of grants which are there through SIIC, in fact, itself, which works with a range of different departments and ministries. So I would want to certainly update and tell you that the Nidhi Prayas grant now has become 20 lakh rupees as well, which was previously up to 10. So there is a lot of emphasis, the government's pouring in a lot of money to take this forward. So through business mentoring, academic mentoring as well, and a good technology transfer and IP cell, we're able to gather these people, which you see some of these people. Arjun Surya is just one of the examples of people who have started their own startup and now actually invests in other startups. So that's the kind of potential there is, which we have. These are just some of our mentors who are there. Great series of collaborations at SIIC as well. So please be rest assured as you apply for your BIG grant, which I will be coming to a little in a latter half of my presentation, that you have a complete ecosystem that we would be very happy to support you in to ensure that your product actually reaches the market and gets adopted. So whether it's medical technologies, particularly, we have those connects with hospitals, design teams, impact investment teams like Alcisa, Vein Connect, and Lex Chambers, to give a range of other things. So at IIT Kanpur, we would be certainly ensuring that you have access to whatever infrastructure that we have on campus. The best of things which are available at BHU and IIT Kanpur together, I think we can do a great very many things through either co-incubation, virtual incubation, or other things. We would want to ensure that we extend all the support to you. We also do a clinical immersion program where engineers work with doctors to actually develop the next generation of medical devices and healthcare technologies. So those collaborations will also certainly help, and I certainly hope that the BioNEST at BHU will also follow suit by replicating. We need many such immersion programs for really technologies which really work in the real medical environment to happen. We have a range of things. Biotechnology is not the only thing. but biotechnology covers a range of these sectors which are given here, like clean tech, agri-tech, and health tech particularly, and WASH as well. But there are other things in the social space as well, like livelihood and education that we fund. If you're looking for success stories, these are just some of them, to name a few. So I think that's something that you should look at, that, people have made it through. Now, coming to the Biotechnology Ignition Grant itself, this all began with taking labs, the research in the labs to the markets and converting research to rupees. This is the fundamental inspiration for this ideation of this grant. This is open twice a year, between 1st August to 15th September, which was the last time which it was open. And there are a range of different funding grants which are there. Basically, once you enter into the Biotechnology Ignition Grant Scheme, you have access to a range of different schemes across the board. So BIG is, as the word suggests, is just the ignition point, the starting point for your journey and leap into technologies stage and level, right? So BIRAC itself has, of course, also developed a range of products and services and actually commercialized them. Some of them are just given here. There are very many products which are out there. More broadly speaking, of course, you get access to a range of key performance indicators with BIRAC, which is, in terms of products and technologies being supported. And now you're entering this ecosystem, basically. So a huge opportunity to partner with the industry, with BIRAC, and a larger ecosystem beyond BIRAC as well, which is something that you should certainly take leverage of through this one Government of India enterprise, which is, monitoring all of these things. So the BIG philosophy basically talks about your, it basically looks at, fostering those kind of solutions which are going to be relevant to the country, in terms of creating the kind of impacts that we're looking at. Lot of intellectual property is filed, but very few of it is market relevant, right? So that is something that we really want. The bottom line ultimately is that it should also create new enterprises to come up, new startups to be formed. And it is not just like another extramural research grant where something is just done in project mode and it finishes and that's the end of the story. So we want startups to come forward and take it to the next level. So yes, in that sense, this is not a typical research grant or a fellowship or a studentship to support any academic research per se. But yes, if you want to bring a business idea along with it and try to validate that proof of concept based on some research which has already been done, if the preliminary data and everything, a review of literature and other things are very strongly supported, then you can expect up to 50 lakh rupees distributed over 18 months to do all of this. Now you may ask what could be really done in 18 months, and a lot can be done. I'll mention this to you as well in advance. So this is to help you to get further follow-on funding. It's very flexible in the sense you can apply with as many ideas as you like simultaneously, which is really something fantastic. And then that at least one really good idea, the really low-hanging fruit or the most crucial one, is supported through and through to see it through with BIRAC itself, let alone other agencies. It's very, very inclusive and egalitarian as a grant when it was being envisioned. and in a sense that anybody with the BSc upwards can apply for this, or from any engineering, science, technology, or engineering, medicine background. So we see a range of people even from design coming forward, people who've done masters in public health or social work or MBAs as well. So there are people who are from commerce MBA background and are doing something in biotech. They've got a great thing, so you don't necessarily have to have even a biotech background per se to get this as a founder of a company or otherwise. The other is, of course, also startups which are less than 5 years old at the time of opening of the call, which is important to look at. The thematic areas certainly are very broad and encompassing. We get most of the applications which fall in the area of medical devices and diagnostics, less so in the biomaterial space or the drugs and pharma space because of the long product development life cycle and other things. But nevertheless, that is very much there. Agriculture is picking up in a big way with similar equivalent agro instrumentation, agro machinery, or range of devices and services as well. And clean tech likewise also people are coming forward with looking at renewables and biomass and waste management related things. We've had cases of people getting things, BIG grants with these as well. So ultimately what's supported is, you get this 50 lakh rupees to de-risk your idea, to really see whether, this thing would develop, as rather than taking a 50 lakh rupee loan. Here you're getting 50 lakh rupees of taxpayer money to just test out your idea and see whether it will go through. And if you are indeed getting this grant, there's a very, very high possibility that it will. So it is worth investing into as well. So certainly, and if you already have MVP with you, then you can also look at upscaling of that prototype as well under this grant. So it should have, the main thing is to have clear technology objectives. So if we look at something like technology readiness levels, we're looking at something between 2 to maximum 4 at the entry stage, or many times it can go even up to 5, but no, I mean, typically 2 to 4 is what we look at. So basic research has been done, the idea has already been formulated. So the sweet spot really is when you are at the stage of technology formulation. Even better if you are at a stage of validation, right? So between the technology readiness 2s and 4, the closer you are to 4, the better and higher your chances are of getting through. That is not to say if you've just done basic research and come at the technology formulation stage that you don't get a chance, but it's just that those other people have moved a longer distance. And so they have a lot more evidence to back up that, yes, indeed, this thing, 50 lakh rupees will certainly yield a large prototype and then a demonstration of the technology in real environments outside the lab. So you can go from 4, either 2 to 6 or 4 to literally 7 through this grant. So this is based on the NASA system of technology scaling, which is just for your reference here. So yeah, so if you're at the stage of proving feasibility, then certainly this entire technology development cycle from 3 to 6 is covered, and up to even 7 actually. So 50 lakh rupees covers all the costs for your typical equipment, manpower, consumables, and other things. as well. And the other important thing to note here is that with regards to equipment, now this is where a lot of people do ask that how can you, like, in 18 months be able to do all that which is being set out to do, given the time. I mean, the tendering and everything takes so much time. Here, everything has already been set. From the moment you get the grant, while the papers are being processed and everything, you've given a budget, you've given justifications for what precise model of equipment you need, why you need it, and so on and so forth. So once the money comes to the account in installments, you don't need to open a tender. You can just directly go to the GEM portal or wherever through your processes, and just you identified the lowest costing equipment. You just go ahead and buy it. There's no bidding or anything involved. Manpower, likewise, again, you don't have to float an advertisement or anything. You hire who you want, for how long you want, for at whatever pay you think you can adjust. So I know it is only 50 lakh rupees. So you can juggle with manpower, bringing in certain peoples with relevant expertise for a limited period of time, and so on and so forth. So all those things can be done. Likewise with consumables and everything. A lot of things can be outsourced as well to agencies to do that. Say, I don't know, 3D printing. You need to do some multi-material, multi-color 3D printing. You can do that as well. And it covers also your IP costs, and certainly the cost to the incubator would get covered with this as well. So, so one of the very important things is that when we say we cover the IP costs, it's very important to note that the IP also belongs to you as an innovator under this grant, any IP that's created. So that's what really drives innovators to go for this grant. So please do bear that in mind, and that's the very key difference between this and other extramural research grants which are there. The IP belongs to you, the entity which is developing this, right? So we, of course, as a BIG partner, would provide whatever mentoring and support that is required throughout the entire, right from the moment you start writing your grant to the point of you getting it, through hand holding people through the entire selection and screening process. As we speak, there are mock presentation sessions happening where people are giving their presentations and getting feedback on their slides, on their concept notes, on a range of other documents that they submit, and all that. And of course, once you do get it as well, then the whole project monitoring and evaluation and everything that's there, in addition to, of course, the infrastructure and things. But most importantly, what a business requires, I mean, I'm sure IIT Kanpur has various infrastructure which is also available in BHU, but more important is the connects to the right networks, which you should certainly look at. So the evaluation criteria, which is quite important here, in the sense that they've given a clear breakup of the points under which any particular proposal is judged at various stages. And as you can see that the team is given actually twice the weightage than the technical feasibility of the idea itself. And I'll get into the details of this in the subsequent slides. I mean, when we look at, of course, technical feasibility, we are looking at, how much preliminary data do we have, and do these all corroborate and point towards an actual viable product being developed. So the science has to be very, very strong to begin with. I know people who've come up with Ayurvedic formulations of things, but then they did not have their science properly done up. So it is very strongly evidence backed. So novelty more looks at actually what is the proprietary IP in this. What is so unique, proprietary is a very key and important word to understand here with regards to what is that entry barrier for anybody else to do. So if you think your idea, many people are that if my idea is going to be stolen by someone and all those kind of things. Now if your idea is so easy to replicate and copy, then perhaps it's not the best of ideas to go into um, to begin with, right? So the entry barrier really comes with that. Certainly tie all these up. So the top half is all technology, pure science and technology, but the bottom half is the business side of it. So what is the market for this thing? That's extremely important. What kind of environmental, all the triple bottom line, right? In the sense of socioeconomic development, in terms of environmental sustainability and all of that, really certainly needs to be looked at. Does it really, you would want to make sure you've identified the gap which is there in the market, and then develop something, right? The COVID situation has shown us so many of these things. Like for instance, nowadays there is this new product which is coming from the same company which used to develop nasal decongestants. Now they've gotten onto the fact that people want to sanitize the internal nasal cavity because of corona. So they're developing sprays also, which you can have when you come back from work. You can just spray, and you can the same way you sanitize your hands, you can sanitize your internal nasal cavity. The people who are developing gargles so that your upper laryngeal tract is all sanitized. So people are looking at those gaps and opportunities and developing products within a record 6 months into the market. So understanding that window of opportunity which is there, and accordingly looking at things is very important. So that commercialization strategy, one really should understand. And ultimately, what's the value proposition? Why should put yourself in the shoes of your customer? Why should they take money out of their pocket to buy the product or service that you're offering? That's extraordinarily important. So more than the idea, like it's the team which executes that idea, which is more important and significant. So having an interdisciplinary team, when I mean team, I don't mean like it has to be a team of 10 or enough to play cricket, but on one side at least, but even a team of 2 people is a team. People coming with at least some level of complementary backgrounds would be really great. One person is an entrepreneur, the other is an innovator, the actual science person. That's the ideal team, actually, because many times the innovator is also not going to be very good in the business related skills. Not always is the case, right? But nevertheless, even if both people are from very much science backgrounds, is great. Even if it's like one person's coming from genetics, the other person's coming from microbiology, for instance, right? So that I think is key, to have complementary strengths and things that are brought on the table. So as that the team and the overall venture can holistically look at, okay, we've got a technology, we've got an idea, there is a market and all of that, but there may be regulatory barriers which need to be looked at. There may be IP barriers to begin with. Do you have the freedom to operate? Are there other patents blocking certain aspects of this technology? So all these things should get looked into, and we can support. And of course, the BioNEST and BHU will also be looking at all of these things and supporting you with all this. So as you can see, it's a little more, the BIG planning is a little more than just submitting a nice idea. But it's how will that idea be executed, and has all the thorough due diligence been done, which is very important. And ultimately, if the entrepreneurial spirit is there, then nothing is impossible. So in that 50 lakh rupees, up to 15 lakh rupees for equipment, 15 lakh rupees for manpower, consumables, and things are flexible. Well, contingency also you can add. Typically it goes up till 10%, and outsourcing up to 20%. It covers, as I said, for patent and travel and all that. These are just generally indicative, but this is how a balanced budget should look like. And you can buy your equipment, hire your manpower, buy your consumables instantly to begin the work. There's no time lag as such there. Also, the whole process is to, of course, go online and register and do all that. That's something that you can go to the BIRAC portal and create your account and start writing in your proposal, save it as a draft. You can send us a Word file or a online doc. Once the call's over and is submitted, we do all the online review, presentation, and things, and other things are done at BIRAC headquarters level. So the calls open twice a year, and this is from BIRAC itself, this flow chart. And as you can see, it follows a multi-layered system of selection and screening. It's quite important to understand and note that at every stage you're getting feedback. That's the most important thing. Almost every 30 days to 45 days you're getting feedback on your idea at no cost to you. There are people who will be reviewing the proposals and doing all of this. So that is something which is very, very important to understand. And then, of course, it's BIRAC's final decision to decide whether we are going to do this. Just this time due to COVID, I think our timelines have got shifted slightly and all that. Last time it was due to some floods, which this thing happened. Nevertheless, you would know whether you got this grant or not within 3 months or so of your application. So if you apply by 15th March or 14th March, whatever it is, then you can February, sorry, then you should know by say 15th of June or so whether the money is coming or it's not coming. And if it comes, then within another 2 months the money comes and you can start off with your work. So it's not like other places where they're like, don't call us, we'll call you. You clearly know at every stage where you're at, right? So so you can begin work latest by, at least if the money comes by 1st August, you can literally start by 1st August as well, right? So once the agreement and all these things are signed. So typically people open their own startup company, it comes into the current account of that company. So that's how it is. So in summary, basically this 4-tier system gives you feedback at every stage, and this evaluation and selection screening process itself helps to really refine the idea very, very significantly. We've seen very, very, what I would say, ideas which are at a very nascent stage, which have gone the distance. And at the first shot itself gotten through, and we've had ideas which have been applied twice from IIT Kanpur itself, from professors here at IIT Kanpur, not gotten through even twice, and maybe they'll make it on the 3rd attempt. So that is there. We, of course, will be providing you with whatever support we can as a BIRAC BIG institution partner, and BHU is also joining this network of BIG and providing all the support. We've had these kind of examples of success stories from BIG in the past. And as you can see, quite a bit of these are medical devices, which I'll be just showing. This is BioScan, which detects brain hemorrhages at non-invasively, right? So you can look them up on BioScan research, and they really looked at the problem of at the site of injury, road accident and others, giving a point of care device for detecting blood clots. So patient doesn't have to wait till then. So whether it's a stroke or other things as well. It really helps a great deal. on that. So it's won a great number of awards. It's very sensitive and specific for this. So this is one idea which is there. There are other things which have been developed by doctors actually in collaboration with engineers, like this D-scope for cervical cancer screening. Other professors have also gone forward, like Professor Shantanu I was mentioning, for a dengue detection device. Professor Asima Pradhan's research lab, this girl Shikha, she was doing her PhD, wanted to take her PhD work to the next level. She had filed a patent, then got her PhD thesis work published, and then now she has her startup company and is doing further work. Even from places like Gopalganj, this chap from Nikki Jha from this company, he's formed Urine Analytics. Right, it's from a tier 3 town, Gopalganj. He had come, we had met him at a startup master class in IIT Patna. And on the first shot, this young man from out of the blue came with such a novel idea. He's gotten through. And of course, Fool is one of our star companies, the startups success stories, which has done again from all the way down south in Kerala. This young boy who's the first generation engineer from his family. They do cocoa bean separation, cocoa bean farming. He looked at his parents who were trying to, do the whole drudgery of manual cocoa bean separation. He's developed this little device for cocoa bean farmers. A single one-man army trying to do things is developing a team as well. What we see, this tamarind hydrocolloid is also by Dr. Ruby Gupta. She was a PhD of CSIR CMAP. She came to IIT Kanpur and we gave her support on the Entrepreneur in Residence Scheme fellowship, and where she developed this idea, which has been known in other countries for quite some time actually. We just throw away the tamarind seeds after deseeding, but she's been able to develop a process and a product to derive very high quality pectin, biopectin hydrocolloid from tamarind seeds for a range of applications, both for food technology applications and even nutraceuticals and pharma as well. This remedial foot orthosis is developed by Professor Halal Mali at MNIT Jaipur. He's been working on this, the club foot disease in infants for the last, I think, 10 years. And I had gone to Jaipur just giving similar kind of talk, and all guns blazing, he on first shot itself got through. So whether you're at an ideation stage or you're, all with your minimal viable product and you're ready to scale it up, there's some of the other funding scheme which is available at SIIC IIT Kanpur to support you in your entrepreneurial journey. And so the range of funding opportunities are there. I'll pause here for any questions if the audience has, and if you would want to know more about other funding schemes, I can show more things in subsequent slides as well. And thank you so much for your attention and time. And yes, I open it up for questions to anyone if they have. Yeah.
So thank you, Udyan, for covering all the significant points related to BIG. And now I'll request all the attendees to ask the questions if they have any. So I can see a question in the question Q&A box. So there is a question from an anonymous person. The permanent university teachers are eligible to apply. He's asking this question. Are university professors are eligible to apply?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think there's no issue there. So, I mean, I've given you examples of IIT Kanpur professors who've applied for this scheme. Academics have been applying for very many years, almost for the last 10 years. Academics have been applying. Professor Debrata Dash had applied for this grant from BHU. So, I mean, eligibility is not at all an issue. I mean, anybody with a BSc upwards can apply. The question I think you're wanting to ask or know more specifically, I believe, is, sorry, I didn't turn on my video while answering. I think the question more significantly, I think that what is being asked is whether a faculty member can also hold executive positions in a startup company. So that's something with the faculty entrepreneurship policy of your institution, which will have to look at. You can certainly adopt the policy which is there at IIT Kanpur. And the policy is publicly available on our website in the download section. If you go to sicincubator.com/downloads, you'll see all the policies there which are in place to do this. So it's just in terms of eligibility to apply, there's no question about it. You're absolutely eligible, certainly. Once you get the grant, you can have one of your graduated students or other people create a team, whereas the faculty member is more like a coordinator, because it's rare, generally rare, for a senior faculty member or an intermediate one to leave, go on a sabbatical and leave their academic work and be working on it full time. If they are going to be, say, like the PI of this, or that they are going to be the one who are actually doing the work. So typically faculty members, like with Professor Devrata, he was there as a coordinator, and it was his students who were actually driving this. So, so identify the potential promising PhD, postdoc, BTech, MTech, MSc, BSc, whatever students in your labs, in your departments and schools, and then create a team of maybe 1 or 2 people that gives them that great opportunity for doing industrial research as well. So that's how I think this thing typically gets done. So I hope that answered this all very important and crucial question. Thank you. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, so if you have any follow-up questions, again, you can ask. So we have another questions. What type of agri technologies are preferred for BIG grant?
Yeah, so in agro technologies, like I mentioned, a range of different things which are there. One of them is, first and foremost, very importantly, is agro instrumentation. That's certainly one thing which has come up in a very big way, which is there. There are also things in agri inputs. So you have biofertilizers, biopesticides, a range of other materials which help, say, like in irrigation management and all of that. We also have, of course, things in the agro machinery space. People wanting to develop things to remove drudgery, especially for women, for example. So even that is something that can be looked at and be done as well. So I think the opportunities are very many in the agri-tech space. If you're reducing farmer distress, it's not an issue. Now, if you may say that, okay, then if I have an app for a farmer and, can I, do some, like, or an e-commerce platform kind of a thing, would that be acceptable to buy that? Then you ask yourself, where is the real technology there and where is the biotech? It can be a part of your solution, but not the solution itself, right? So that's where it's important to understand that if it's just a little app, then it's highly unlikely. But even agro IT is also preferred. Now, let's take the case of people like some of our companies, startup companies like Earth Analytics, which looks at, there's basically a satellite technology which they've developed for even in cloudy conditions, you can map out the conditions of the fields from the satellites, right? So, and they're using that on drones and other things. Now, you wouldn't think that, a drone would be supported. Where does a drone fit in with biotechnology, right? But but yes, even that is supported as well, you know. So that's how it is. So they're giving great advisory to farmers based on satellite imaging and all of that. But yeah, even that gets supported. It's not a problem.
Yeah, so we have a question in the chat box as well. So Chandana Basu, she is asking that do we need to identify the commercial partner and include in the team at the time of applying for the BIG grant?
Pardon?
Do we need to identify the commercial partner include in the team
Okay.
before applying for the
Yeah,
BIG?
yeah, I can see the question. Yeah. So with regards to industry partners, like, look, so this grant doesn't require you to have an industry partner. Number one, this is not like those kind of industry relevant. Yeah, it's industry relevant, but it's not like there are other schemes in BIRAC where you have industry partners, right? It's good to have certain people for support, but it's not mandatory and not required really, because ultimately it is the startup which is going to be commercializing this. Yes, it can have the support systems and partnerships built in for sourcing of materials or services or other things and all that. No issues whatsoever there. But other than that, yeah, I think that is something which needs to be looked at.
Yeah, so we have another question in the chat box. Does SIIC help in identifying suitable industry partners?
Yes, we can certainly help to identify people, recommend people as well. Many times based on our experience, wherever it is, we can help in that process as well, because there's a lot of industry collaborations that we have and we work with across the board. There's so many alumni who are spread across so many, very many industries. So through the large alumni association over 65 years of batches of BTech, MTech, all those people, we can certainly reach out and see if we have relevant people in particular organizations and ask a word around. That can be done, but that's not the primary thing that we do. Uh, uh, in fact, this is something like an exercise which actually ideally should happen uh, uh, by the innovator. So Chandana, I would say that you would let us discuss what is the kind of partner you need. Do you even need a partner? Why? Let's uncomplicate, right? Only if it's really required, let's bring on something together. But the mandate of the scheme is not just to develop something, do a little technology transfer and end of story, but to go the distance. So the startup becomes that special purpose vehicle which will be incubated at the BHU, BioNEST, or wherever in the country to actually drive that. So that is the commercial entity which can do that. BHU cannot, as a registered society or whatever its legal structure is, commercialize anything. It's an academic institution. It's not its mandate, not even IIT's mandate to do. It's an engineering institution. So, but a startup can take that idea, like it was the case with, I showed some examples, and take it forward like that. So I think, yeah, and you don't need to have everything identified at the time of applying either. You can identify your people as you go along. That's the reason why there is a time line for the entire application selection screening process. So that gives you every 45 days feedback so that you can keep improving on that idea. At least you get 2 opportunities to improve upon that idea during the screening process itself. So once you've submitted, it's not like, oh, well, now it's only 15th February, there's not a lot of time, what all can I do? You can only do so much till 15th of February, but you should, if you're interested, apply. So at least you get that feedback early on, you know. So you will at least get the feedback latest by March and April, right? So at least you'll know whether it's in or out or where are my weak points and work on those. So while your application is being evaluated, you identify those commercial partners. There's more than enough time, actually. And you can continue to recursively refine and what we would say is to, in a sense, pivot as required, and you can mature your idea accordingly.
Yeah, so we have another question which asks, suppose that technology has to be translated in human from murine system, how one can get related industry. This is again, related to the industrial collaboration. Yeah. So.
So I think this is a more specific one, Dr. Rashmi. I would say that there are a range of agencies which can be identified to do this work with regards to, ultimately doing the translational work, or at least part of it. So the outsourcing can be done. So there are companies like, at one time, Premas Biotech used to do a lot of contract research, right? So contract research organizations many times have facilities and things to be able to manage and doing all of this kind of work. So you can certainly look at those and explore those for certain aspects of your work which can't be done in-house. So you can find those out accordingly and do that.
Yeah, so we have another question related to the application window timing. So can the application be made anytime?
So application can be made anytime. There's no such kind of a thing. The call is open typically between 1st January to 15th February and 1st July to 15th August, 16th August, whatever it is. But you can, be working on your application at any point of time. But these are the fall and spring sort of intake, so to say, right, every year. So like with your college, university applications for grad school, you can apply it whenever, prepare it whenever, but the entries would be accepted only during when the calls are open. But the key thing is to apply as early as possible, which is more important than trying to let not best be the enemy of good. That's very important. I am a real culprit at this. I would be like a perfectionist and be, delaying things beyond point. Learned it the hard way. It doesn't help because you can do only so much till 14, 15 February. Let's do the best with that and then develop it as we go along in the selection and screening process. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. So one person is asking, can we get this presentation in PPT format? So yeah. So in the follow-up,
we can send it to you as a PDF or something.
Yeah. So we'll be sending you all a follow-up mail, and in that we'll be sharing all the details related to BIJ, and we can also provide a link.
Nothing that I've shared here is not there already on the SIIC incubator website. Nothing have I shared here which is not already available on the BIRAC website. Right? It's all there. It is just that I've done the donkey work of putting it all together in one place, so to say, even at the expense of making horrible slides, which you had to bear through with a lot of text and those, old-fashioned bullet point things. But because those government sarkari documents sometimes take time to read through, just for your convenience, everything is there. But what I would encourage you to do is to look at the BIRAC BIG book, which is there. You go to BIRAC BIG, you look at their webpage, all the relevant FAQs and documents, all the questions that many of you have asked, like can a faculty apply, can they do this or that, are all answered by the agency itself. And if in case still you have a question with the way they have answered it, and you're like in doubts whether we can or we can't, or because there are some people, say, oh, they're saying that we have to leave our job and then only we can do this. That's not the case. With CSIR, for example, they have something called a scientific mobility scheme. So a person can take a sabbatical for 18, 24 or 36 months, I believe. I'm not too sure about 36, but certainly for about 18 to 24 months, go to the industry, do some work and then come back, right? Because it's a CSIR lab, right? So likewise, if there is scope for sabbatical, why not take the plunge? But most faculty members would be like, well, we don't want to miss out on our promotions and on our pay scales and so on and so forth. So they have a very comfortable, nice job. Highly unlikely that they will leave their job and do this project full time. So they depute their recently graduated or long ago graduated students from the lab. Hey, would you like to come and work on this idea? We can create a startup. We have an incubator. IIT Kanpur is willing to come on board. How about we put in this idea and try it out? So that's how typically it happens.
Yeah. So if we have more questions, you can quickly ask that in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we can wrap this here. Yeah. So I think that was all. So thank you all for joining for this webinar, and I would like to thank Mr. Sen and hello. Yeah. So I would like to thank Mr. Sen and Mr. Udayan Chandra for very elaborately speaking about BIG and all the other opportunity that he has mentioned. So yeah, Mr. Sen, you want to say something?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chandra, for very nice presentation, informative, and lot of queries are there. You solve it, and thanks SIIC entire team, Rishi and others, for this collaboration and organizing this webinar. And in future also, we are looking forward for organizing this kind of webinars and other programs together for the benefit of BHU BioNEST. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sen. I would wish all the participants who are here, please do write to us and share with us what you're wanting to do. And we'll of course be sending out the offline application forms, the presentation templates and all of that, which will give you a lot more information about what goes into it. If for nothing else, to just test out how good your idea is, please do apply. Make use of this great, taxpayer money benefit. Consider you paying taxes, now you're going to get something in return for free. So look at it that way, and please do apply, get the feedback, and at least you'll know whether it's worth pursuing or not. It's more important to know what's not worth pursuing than what to pursue many times. So hope that gives you that clarity. And we look forward to discussing with you one-on-one as well, and telling you very frankly whether this would work or not as well. And many times, it's you, the innovators, who really surprised us. We never thought somebody developing a smart urinal will be getting 50 lakh rupees, and the professors at IIT Kanpur would be just sitting and waiting this young boy from Gopalganj in Bihar take the grant, being one of the 50 people. But yeah, that's how it happens. So the wild card entry is getting all of these. So maybe your idea is that great maverick, very disruptive, novel, new idea. So give your idea a chance, and we look forward to seeing your product one day and using it as well. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all faculty members of BHU for participating in this webinar. Thank you.